All right, we are live, and this is June Collier. Welcome. I am in my office here today. I drove into the office today to get a little bit of work done. But what I want to do is I want to talk about why there's wealth being transferred and created right before your eyes. And I want to share with you why you need to learn how to invest and become an investor. So there's many people that are not an investor, but I really want to encourage you to become an investor. I'm going to share my screen here and just talk about a few things that I think are important for you to become an investor. Thank you, Ms. Rucker. I see you. I see you. Rich risings to you. All right, let's share the screen here, and I'm going to share with you. Let's see here. Let's share with you this right here. So I'm here on Yahoo Finance, and here on Yahoo Finance, here's what I want to just kind of take a look at. I want to take a look at these three indexes. We've got the S&P 500, the Dow 30, and the NASDAQ. Now, for those of you who are not investors and you don't really know how this stuff really works, I'm gonna break some of this down for you. The S&P 500 is like the top 500 companies, right? And that's a simple way of putting it. There's more to it, but just think of it as the top 500 U.S. companies that are being traded. So let's take a look at the S&P 500. It was up today in $18.45, which was 0.47% up. And so what I want you to notice, however, is I want you to notice this little chart here off to the right. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to look over the last 1 year and just look at how it's growing. Now we see a dip here. This was back during the coronavirus epidemic, the beginning of, I'm sorry, not epidemic, but pandemic. And this was sort of the beginning, and it was at 2,300, and now it's at 3,900. Okay, so we can see that over the last year. Let's take a look at the last 5 years. See how it's trending upward? Now, there are some pullback periods, and those pullback periods are really opportunities, but there are some pullback periods, but it's going higher. All right, let's look at the max. This goes back to, obviously this is not the max, but this goes back to 1984. So from 1984 till today, you can see what's going on in the stock market. That's the S&P 500. Let's take a look at the Dow 30. The Dow 30 is, and I'm gonna keep it very simple, the 30 top companies. Let's take a look at the max. So if we look at the max, we can see back in 1992, this is where it was at, 3,200, and now it's at 31,000. So we can see what's going on in the market. And when people talk about the market, they really are talking about the Dow Jones Industrial Average, the top 30 companies when you hear people talk about the market. Now let's take a look at the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ was also up today. And if we look at the NASDAQ from 1984 to where it is today, back in 1984, it was trading around $280. Today is at $14,000. Okay. And so now there are pullbacks, during any type of time period, there's going to be some pullbacks. But what I want you to understand is that if you're an investor and you really understand how to invest, your money is going to grow. Your money is going to grow, but you have to be in the game in order for that money to actually grow in a way that makes any type of sense. Okay, so let's go ahead, and I'm going to stop here, and we're going to go back here to our StreamYard here. And so investors must own assets. You have to own assets. Now, there's two ways that you can own an asset. You can either build an asset or you can buy an asset. Write that down. You can either build an asset or you can buy an asset. Now, what are assets? Assets can be anything from real estate. They can be gold, silver. It could be the stock market. It could be, maybe you're a singer and you put, some records on tape. You know, it could be that you're a writer and you write a book. That's an asset. Anything that you create that has value, that can generate value, can be an asset for you. And so you can either buy those assets or you can build those assets. Now, in order for you to buy the asset, you got to have equity. What does that mean? You got to have a little bit of cash to get some assets. So we call it cash, asset, cash. That's where you take a little bit of cash, you buy an asset, and then that asset generates more cash for you. That's a very, very simple way of thinking of it. Cash, asset, cash. Now, sometimes you don't have cash. And if you don't have cash, you have sweat equity. So there's equity and then there's sweat equity. And that means that you actually build something and create an asset. Now, here's the beautiful thing with sweat equity. God gives us the power to create wealth, right? He gives us the ability to create wealth. If you haven't figured it out by now, I'm a wealth producer, and you'll see Deuteronomy, right? Okay, you'll know about that, Deuteronomy 8:18. And so what you're going to understand is that you can actually build assets. So you can build a business, you can write a book, you can write a song, you can produce a movie, you can sew something. If you're good in crafting, there's a lot of different ways that you can build an asset, and then that asset starts to generate income for you, which is cash. So you build an asset, and then the asset generates cash. And then you take that cash and you buy more assets. So the goal to becoming wealthy is not to chase the next car or the next sneakers or all of the consumable goods that will lose its value. Your goal is to buy more assets that will create value. Now, here's the funny thing. If you go out and buy the shoes, you're actually buying someone else's asset. So if you go out and buy the tennis shoes, now Nike makes more money because Nike is in the business of making tennis shoes. So they built an asset, and that asset pays them. You bought a liability in the tennis shoes. Now I know some people says, hey, I can buy tennis shoes and sell them for a higher price. I'm not talking about that type of thing. But what you want to do is you want to position yourself to buy assets as well as build assets. So if you have a job, you want to take a portion of the income that you make on that job and go buy you some assets. That should be a goal that you have every time you get paid. It's Friday. Some of you may have gotten paid today. And one of the things that you need to do is you need to invest in yourself. You've got to go buy some assets. Take some of your money from your job and go buy some assets. Now, if you want to put some fuel on the fire, figure out what the gifts and skills that God has given you and go build some assets as well. And those assets could be a number of things that you can actually do. Again, there's so many different things that you can do that can generate income into your household. And all you have to do is really sit down and think about it. And then when that cash comes in, you want to take that cash and buy more assets. The goal is to accumulate as many assets as you possibly can. The more assets that you have, you'll wake up one day and your assets will replace the income that you used to make to live off of. You want to get to the point where your assets produce enough income for you that you don't necessarily have to work, because it replaces the work income. Now, does that mean that you should stop working? No. I want to continue to build my assets and build those assets as large as I possibly can. And again, there's many different types of assets that you can participate in. I just showed you the stock market because that's one of the assets that I'm actually building, and I'm building very, very fast and rapidly. And I have just full focus and attention on building those assets. So you've got to look for new ways to generate some income. So now I'm going to share with you how I was able to generate $4,412 in the last 12 days on a couple of trades that I did. Now I've made more money than that in the last 12 days, but I want to talk specifically about a trade that I did back on February 1st, I believe it was. I bought this on February 1st. So now let me also say this. I am not a financial advisor. I teach stocks. I teach you how to look at stocks and trade stocks, but this is not a recommendation that you buy this stock. But what I do want to do is I want to give you an example of how money is actually made. So I'm going to share my screen one more time, and we're going to jump into taking a look at one of the stocks that I recently purchased. And this is a stock that I've been in and out of for quite some time. I've been doing this stock for a while. So the name of the stock is Chewy, CHEWY. The ticker symbol is CHWY. It closed out today at 118.69. However, back on February 1st, I bought this stock for $100. So if we go here and look at the historical data, and if we go back to February 1st, you'll see that on February 1st, the low was $99.20, and the high that day would have been 104.95. Now, because I trade this stock in and out very frequently, I know the stock very well. And when it came down to $99, I knew that this was a price that I needed to jump on the stock, because I've been watching the stock and I trade the stock in and out very frequently, and I knew that this was a great price. That's one of the strategies that I teach, is that you got to know your stock like you know the back of your hand. I often say you got to know the stock like you know your woman, right? And so I bought the stock at $100 on February 1st. So as soon as I bought the stock, I bought 300 shares of this stock for $100. So if you'll multiply 300 times 100, I spent $30,000 on this stock, okay? And then the very next thing that I did is I did something called writing a covered call. And so writing a covered call means that you rent your stock out. And so I bought it for $100. And I said, in the next 2 weeks, by February 12th, I am willing to sell the stock for $110 between now and February 12th. So I wrote a covered call for $110. And because I wrote a covered call, I received a premium of $3.06. So I got $3.06 for writing that covered call. There was 2 contracts that I wrote. So remember, I bought 300 shares. I wrote 2 contracts for $3.06. That's one contract is 100 shares. So that's 200 shares. So if you take $200 and multiply it times $3.06, that's going to give me $612. So I immediately was able to put $612 into my pocket. And I said, if the stock goes to 110 by February 12th, which is today, I'm going to sell it to you for $110. All right. So let's take a look. Well, today is February 12th, and it went to 118. So what did that mean? That meant that today I had to sell the stock for 110. Okay. Well, June, why did you sell it for 110 when it was 118? Well, when I bought it on February 1st, there was no way of me telling how high it was going to go. So that's part of selling a covered call. I picked up some premium. I picked up $3.06. And so the reality is that I bought the stock for $100. I'm going to sell it at 110, but I also got $3.06 for the contract. So I made $13.06 on this deal, right? So if you take $13.06, let's pull out our calculator. $13.06 times 200 shares. That's a total of $2,600, okay? But remember, I bought 300 shares. So I still have 100 shares that I bought for $100. Now the stock is worth $18.69. So I now have to take the $26.12 and I have to add $1,869 to this So if I go $1,869, that's going to give me a total of $4,481 on a movement of a stock. And what I want you to understand is that with this particular stock, I'm going to close out here real quick, get back on the screen. With this particular stock, I actually bought one stock, but I sold it or traded it in 3 different ways. So I bought 300 shares. I said, I like the stock at this price, so I want to hold 100 shares for myself. I want to go long 100 shares. So that means that I'm holding 100 shares, and I'm going to hold that for, 4 or 5 years down the road. So I'm holding 100 shares. But 200 shares, I said, I'm going to write a covered call to get premium right away. So I took 200 shares, and I said, okay, I bought this for 100. I'm willing to sell this to you in the future for 110. And to give you the right for me to sell it to you in the future for 110, you had to pay me $3.06. So I did 2 contracts that way. 1 contract per contract is 100 shares, so that's 200 shares. So $3.06 times 200 shares is $612. I immediately put $612 in my pocket the day I bought the stock because I wrote the covered call. Now, fast forward to 12 days later. 12 days later, the stock jumps up to 118. And I didn't think I was going to get called out today because last night, if you go back and we'll look at the stock, last night the stock had closed out at 107. Let's go and take a look at that. The stock closed out at 107 last night. So let's go and look at that real quick. Share that with you. So we're looking here at the stock. Let's go back and look at historical data. Yesterday was February 12th. The stock closed, and I'm sorry, it closed at 108. So I did not know if I was going to get called out today or not, because remember, my contract says I'll sell it to you for 110. Well, if the stock never goes to 110, the contract expires worthless. I get to keep the premium, and then I can write a new contract on it the next week. All right. But in this case, something happened with this stock today. It went from 108 to 118. So it blew past my 110 today. And so I'm going to get called out on this stock at 110. Now, why am I still smiling? I'm smiling because I bought the stock for 100. I sold somebody a contract to sell it to them for 110 12 days from now. I made my $10 on the stock, plus I got premium of $3.06 per stock. So I made $612, $2,600 on that particular stock, okay? Because I still make the $10 premium, and I make the $600 that I got for leasing the stock out, if you will. Plus, I still own 100 shares of my own that I went long on. And my 100 shares, they're up $18 each. So that's $1,800 on the stock itself for a grand total of $4,412. All right. In just 2 weeks, 12 days, really 12 days. And so I made that trade, and it literally took me 10 minutes to make the trade. And then I just sat back and I waited for February 12th, which is today. And in that process, $4,412. Now, I didn't have to lift a finger. I didn't have to sweat. I didn't have to do any of the work equity that we talk about. And this is why you need to learn how to invest in the stock market and how to trade. I want to share another one with you where I have a friend of mine. His name is Sequester McKinney. And Sequester said, hey, June, will you teach me how to write a covered call? And so I said, no problem. And so I want to show you how he is positioned to get a 40% return on his money. Now, I've taught Sequester how to go out and get a good stock and how to go out and find a great stock. And so let me share with you what Quest did. We'll go here and I'll share with you what Quest did. And Quest he doesn't have as much money as I have in the market, but he still was able to take advantage of writing a covered call. So what Quest did is he went out and he searched across the web based on the techniques that I gave him, and he came across this company called Sonos. Sonos, S-O-N-O. Now, Sonos is at $35.48 today, but Quest bought Sonos back towards the end of December. I don't know exactly what day it was in December, but he bought it for I want to say he bought it for $22.75 back in December. So let's go back. I'm going to look for December time period. So we'll go to December, and I'm going to go 20th, and we'll do December to December 31st. That way we can just look at what the numbers were in December. That was 2020. Yeah, that was 2020. And this should be 2020 as well, so that I can show you what the price of that stock was. So, like I said, I know that he bought it for $22.75. So let's just kind of take a look. You can see back here in December, you can see that the stock was trading around 20 some odd dollars. On the 29th, it was as low as $22.62. It went as high as $23.72. He bought the stock at $22.75. All right. So he bought the stock for $22.75, and he said, "Hey, June, will you teach me how to write a covered call?" Well, I didn't get around to it until I think we looked at it in January, the last of January, maybe the 1st of February, that we looked at writing a covered call. The stock had already started increasing and rising. So at the time, the stock was about $27. And I said, "Hey, Quest, let's write a covered call for $30. Now remember, he bought the stock for $22.75. We wrote a covered call for $30. So if I take my calculator and I subtract $30 from $22.75, this is going to give us $7.25 worth of profit per share if he gets called out. So now he only had 100 shares. He had one contract. So that's $725 if he gets called out. But because he wrote the contract, he received another dollar. And I don't want to, I'm trying to be specific, but I believe it was $1.75 that he got for the contract. So $1.75 times 100 shares, that's $175. Okay. So let's do the math. If he gets called out, he's going to pick up $725 plus $175 that he already has received, for a grand total of $900. Okay. So he spent $2,275 and made a $900 profit. Now, why do I say that he made a $900 profit? Because right now, the stock is selling at $35.48. We wrote the covered call for $30. So if the stock stays above $30 next Friday, he will get called out, but he will make $900 on the trade. And so he's able to take a small account and he's able to use a strategy called covered call writing. And he can use that covered call writing strategy to begin to build his portfolio so that he can have more money to trade. So when you have a small account, there are things that you can do to grow your small account so that you start trading larger and larger amounts of stocks or more expensive stocks. Okay. So in the course of, I think in the course of 2 months, that trade that he did is going to net him a 40% return. He's going to net a 40% return, 40, right? And so oftentimes when I'm talking to people, and I never like to tell people, 40, 50, 60% returns on their investment. I don't like to tell them that because traditionally that's just not unrealistic. But when you learn certain strategies and you learn how to use options in combination with stocks, there's some amazing things that you can actually do. And that was just an amazing example of how he was able to build his portfolio and take $2,200 and basically turn $2,200 into $3,100. So now he's got $900 more, and his portfolio is starting to build. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take that $3,100. We're going to go back out, look for a stock. It could be the same stock or it could be a different stock. We're going to repeat that process, rinse and repeat, writing another covered call. Now, is every covered call going to generate 30%, 40% returns? No, it doesn't necessarily work that way. A lot of your covered calls, depending on how long you write the covered call, may generate you a 3 to 5 to 7% return. It just really depends on the covered call and the stock. But in times when the stock runs and it runs high, you get called out, you can make some significant returns on your investment. Now, a lot of times people will say, June, what you're saying to me sounds like a foreign language. And I want you to know that, 6 months ago, this was foreign language to Quest. It was foreign language to him 6 months ago. But going through the course, he was able to figure out how this works. And he is super excited. And he now knows how to get his money to work for him. That's why my slogan is make your money work for you. We are money breeders. We breed money. We don't breed pit bulls. We breed money. And I want to teach you on how to breed money as well. I would love for you to attend my class. The registration is open right now. You can go to invest.junecollier.com. The class is $350. It is a 6-week class. You can bring your spouse in at no cost, so your spouse can come with you. Take this class. We have videos. We have live trainings. I do 2 live trainings a week. I answer all of your questions. We've got a Facebook group. We've got probably 130, 140 people in our Facebook group already who've been through the course, and nothing but rave reviews about what we are learning inside of this course. You can see just from what I just shared with you, even if you don't necessarily understand everything that I just shared, that there's so much value. There's tremendous amounts of value here. Sequester was able to increase his portfolio by 30% over the last 6 months. I think it's been shorter than that. He turned $20,000 into $26,000, and we've got another 6 months to go before he's been in the program for a year. We're definitely going to probably push well over into $30,000 for him, and he's really super excited about what he's learning, and you can learn the same thing. You can learn the same thing. Here's what Quest told me. It was worth the investment. The $350 that he's made, this course has, the $350 that he paid for the course has paid several times over what he's learned and what he's been able to get back as a return. So I'm telling you that this works. It is life-changing. Today alone, I think my account grew by $6,000 or $7,000 today alone. So if you're not participating in the market because you don't know how it works and you don't know how to make it work and you just don't understand, this is the place to be. You don't want to be sitting on the sidelines trying to get a tip. Like some of you may be saying, look, I'm gonna go buy some Chewy or I'm gonna go buy some Sono. Well, if you don't know what you're doing, you can buy the stock and buy it at the wrong time or buy it at the wrong price or whatever the case may be and actually lose money. You don't want to be in a position where you're looking for a tip. You want to be in a position where you can research the stock and know what you're doing, and you don't have to ask anybody, is this a good buy? You know yourself if it's a good buy because you have the skill set to do so. So again, you can register for the class. It's invest.junecollier.com. It's $350. It is a 6-week course. We are closing the doors for the course this coming Thursday. This Thursday, the doors will be closed for the course. So you're going to want to make sure that you get in and you get in early, because I've got books that I'm recommending that you go get. I've got some preliminary videos that you can start looking at now before Thursday comes along. So don't wait. Don't wait. It is well worth it. Anyone that takes action and goes through my course, man, you're going to see your life change. It's going to change you and your family's finances for the rest of your life. So this is Joe Collier. I hope you got some value out of it on top of the sales message, because I am selling. I want you to get in the class, but I hope you also got some value out of what I showed you, because there's so much more that I can show you that you can do to start growing your portfolio and to start making money. This is June Collier signing out. Hope you're having a better than amazing Friday, and we'll talk with you guys soon.